Hi, I'm Bills defensive end Greg Rousseau, and you're listening to Nate and the Fellas on Circling the Wagons podcast. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Go Bills!
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo! Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo!
The Bills make me wanna shout!
Welcome to the Circling the Wagons podcast, a podcast discussing the Bills all year round with interviews, news, recaps, and insightful fan discussion. Most times. Here's your host and lifelong Bills fan, Nate.
Hey Bills Mafia, what's going on? It's your host, Nate. This is another episode of Circling the Wagons, and some breaking news. Some breaking news today, some bad news today. If you guys are listening to us for the first time, this is a much better way to consume than I've been doing live podcasts in my car on the way to work, and now I'm just going for a quick walk. Thought I'd do a space here on X, Twitter, and according to, if you haven't noticed or if you haven't read, Bills cornerback Tre'Davious White, according to Sal Capaccio, hopped off the field on one leg today and was immediately looked at by trainers. He stood by the outside wall with them for several minutes before walking slowly on his own with a trainer nearby into the locker room area. White later walked back down the tunnel towards the field, where he then sat in a cart and was driven out. So there's that. It's not ideal. We're 17 days from the regular season as of the time I'm recording this. And I really, really wish that Maxwell Harrison was healthy. I wish the Bills didn't have to rely on Tre White, but even Tre White is a better option than Dane Jackson, who we saw this last preseason game get burned by the second and third teamers. Jamarcus Ingram, only because Jamarcus Ingram is a little bit more of an unknown. At this point, I would take his upside, unless he keeps getting torched in the regular season, then I might not do that. But as of right now, I take Jamarcus Ingram. But either way, it's not a great situation, right? Now you're solely relying on Christian Benford to take away half the field and hoping that you can shade coverage over to that other spot, wherever either Jamarcus Ingram or Dane Jackson will be, which is not ideal in any scenario. Along with that, we're obviously dealing with the uncertainty at safety heading into the season, because if there's one huge takeaway from the Bills-Bears preseason game, that the safeties need a little work. We're not so sure that we want Cole Bishop starting at safety. I mean, he probably will. I think he should over Cole Bishop, or I'm sorry, over Damar Hamlin, because Damar Hamlin doesn't really look the part still. But now we're dealing with issues at safety, at corner. I mean, everyone besides Christian Benford and Taron Johnson is not just a question mark. That's a huge question mark with an underline, with an asterisk, with everything next to it. It's a tough run. Now, mind you, preseason means nothing. We haven't talked about the Bills-Bears preseason game yet. But, it doesn't really matter. We all know that it doesn't matter. It would just be nice, though, if the Bills didn't look completely defeated. I'm okay losing 30-7, but when it's 38-0 and the Bills didn't really show any sort of life besides Frank Gore Jr. running the ball, a little bit of Tyrell Shavers, there just wasn't a lot to be happy about as a Bills fan. The Bills' offensive and defensive lines got shoved backwards. If you watched the Hard Knocks episode, Sean McDermott talked about that live during the game, how the lines weren't performing, which you kind of understood. The Bears started their first team offense and defense against the Bills' second team offense and defense for the most part. So it's like, okay, I get the first quarter. Those guys are going to get pushed around. You have rookie defensive tackles, TJ Sanders and Deion Walker getting pushed around by Bears interior starting offensive linemen. I get it. But when the second stringers are coming out and they're still getting pushed around by backups, that's a little concerning. And this kind of goes on to a bigger issue, I think, is that, if you've been listening to us or watching us, we talked before the draft and before free agency even what kind of players we were looking for out of that period. And the big one was, in safety. Well, let's go to defensive tackle first. Defensive tackle was, okay, we have Ed Oliver, 3 technique, pass rusher upfield, hit the gap, split the gap, get through upfield. We have a guy like that. We have Dwayne Carter, 3rd round pick out of Duke a couple years ago. Same kind of guy, same style of playing. What we really need is a guy to take over for Daquan Jones. A big guy, a run stuffer, a 2-gapping sort of defensive tackle that can hold up double blocks. A guy like that can just really, stake down the middle of the offensive line and just let the linebackers get through and eat. And the Bills didn't really sign any of those guys. They didn't draft any of those guys. They drafted guys that are all 3 technique pass rushers and guys that can get upfield, which is great, except when your defensive line gets pushed around in the run game. And even 360-pound Deion Walker, a guy who's sized for a 1 technique, but never really played that way in Kentucky, is definitely much more of a, pass rushing interior defensive lineman. Can't really get it done so far. He's not looking great strength-wise yet. He's still young. But the Bills aren't seeing a ton from the draft picks, and that doesn't even mention Landon Jackson, which I think I noticed once on the field during the preseason game, but haven't heard anything about in camp. Haven't heard anything about a lot of these guys, to be honest, in camp. So, yeah, it's not a great showing so far by the defensive tackles, defensive line in general. The Bills, like I said, they keep drafting 3 techniques, saying that, well, it's harder to find guys that can rush the passer. It's easier to get them to, learn a, 1 technique job or learn how to play the run than it is the pass. Well, that's great. But all these guys you've drafted haven't been able to get to the pass rusher or, at this point, really haven't been able to stop the run really well. So Daquan Jones still is by far the best 1-tech defensive tackle they've had in the Sean McDermott era. They've either signed or drafted or whatever. He is the best by far. Not even close. But he's getting older. They need a replacement for him. And they're fitting Dwayne Carter as a square peg into a round hole. And this also goes to the safety issues. If you were listening to us before free agency and the draft, we said, hey, let's draft a safety who can play center field like Micah Hyde. Let's get a guy who can be that ball hawk roaming around in single high free safety. Just, it doesn't have to be exactly like Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde might be one of the best we've ever had. But we want a guy that offers a little bit more. And what do the Bills do? They sign and draft more strong safeties, more guys that are great in the box, more guys that can cover in the short and intermediate routes. And not that they can't go deep into coverage, but they haven't proven that they can yet. So you're looking at Cole Bishop, Taylor Rapp, all these guys now. Cole Bishop's super athletic. I think he can do it. He just hasn't done it. And if you saw the preseason game, he ain't ready for it yet. So you have this issue where not only are you drafting only and signing only 3 tech defensive tackles instead of 1 tech, instead of any 1 techs, you're getting the same thing as safety. You're getting a lot of strong safeties and not a ton of free safeties, which, to the Bills' credit, hasn't really gone against them or hasn't really hurt them, at least when it comes to long passes. They're one of the best in the league at eliminating passes of 20, 30, 40-plus yards. They're top 5, top 8 in all of those categories I just mentioned. But they give up a ton underneath as a result. They're one of the worst defenses when it comes to stopping 3rd and long. So I get not wanting to let things go deep, but it'd be nice if we had a free safety that could do everything. And I know Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, they were interchangeable. That's what they always said. And and I agree that they were a lot of times. But if you had to say which one was different, I mean, Jordan Poyer was a closer to the line, physical safety, and he would punish guys over the middle. And Micah Hyde could do that also, but his bread and butter was just like you saw in the Bills Patriots playoff game, that long pass that Mac Jones had to, I forget the receiver for the Patriots, but that was Micah Hyde intercepting it. When you think about the kickoff, onside kickoff return for a touchdown that Micah Hyde had, I mean, he was in the hands team. There's a reason why he was that deep center field safety. He's good. He was good at it. Bills don't really have that right now. And they keep trying to load up at the other side of it without addressing one side of it, right? Jordan Hancock might end up being something. He's never really been a free safety. It's weird to say this, but I mentioned this after the draft. Maybe we start thinking about potentially Dorian Strong being that free safety. I mean, with the injuries we have in corner, he might actually get some corner playing time. I was thinking he'd be fourth, maybe fifth on the depth chart at outside corner, but now maybe he's like second or third at this point with all the injuries. But he is a ball hawk. He was a ball hawk coming out of Virginia Tech. He was not a guy that was super physical, mostly because he's 6'1", but he's only 185 pounds. Just didn't have the physicality yet. So not a guy you'd want at the line in the box as a safety, but at the same time, he's a guy that might be able to roam center field. He's not super athletic, but he's pretty good. So I don't think the Bills will do that. But if I were the Bills, I would start looking at him as a potential option for safety. So we'll see what happens there. The Gabe Davis rumors about him coming to Buffalo, or at least visiting with Buffalo yesterday or today. I can't remember. I think it was yesterday. No news yet on any signing. No news yet. He met with the Steelers and the Bills. Apparently, there was a lot of, checking out his medical, making sure he's healthy in case they do want to sign him. It sounds like a lot of teams are looking for wide receiver, including the Vikings with Jordan Addison's suspension, maybe even the 49ers. So I'm not sure what the market is for Gabe Davis. Maybe he signs to one of those places as well, or gets a visit from them. Maybe the Bills end up signing Gabe Davis. But, I mean, with Khalil Shakir out week one, which we're not 100% sure he'll be out week one, but if he is out week one, I mean, where does Gabe Davis step in on the depth chart for you? I mean, you think, Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer, Curtis Samuel just started practicing the other day, finally, after missing basically two training camps since he's been here with injuries. I mean, this might be a lingering hamstring injury for him. We'll see. Joshua Palmer, and then I'm missing someone. Yeah, and then it's just like, well, Gabe Davis has experience with Josh Allen. Now, I'm glad we didn't extend Gabe Davis at the time. I'm glad we didn't sign him for a 4-year, $12 million a year contract. I never thought he was worth that. But if you're looking for a body that has chemistry with Josh Allen, and sure, he's limited. We all know that. He'll never be a wide receiver one. But where would he stack on the depth chart right now? I'd say even if Khalil Shakir was healthy, the only receiver he's definitely not starting over is Khalil Shakir. But he might, compared to Joshua Palmer, maybe just if not for the size, if not for the chemistry that he has with Josh Allen and his experience playing with him and knowing his style of play. Everyone knows they love his blocking prowess. They love that he can run block. He gives a ton of effort. They love him. They love him in Buffalo. So I say he comes into Buffalo. If he were to get signed, he'd be wide receiver 2, 3, maybe 4 at worst. But 2, or if Khalil Shakir is out, 1 at best. So I think that's a no-brainer. If Bean can find room within the cap, especially since they have the lowest amount of money of all 32 NFL teams right now. So we'll see about that. I saw that there were rumors that the Bills might be interested in trading, or at least fans were thinking the Bills might trade someone away to like a 49ers or a Vikings in order to get, something for these guys. and people are saying Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel, I mean, like I said, he's been injured the last two training camps and has barely shown up as a Buffalo Bill. I don't know who would take that trade, or maybe Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore was a free agent until the draft, so every team had a chance to sign Elijah Moore before the draft. But I mean, either one, I don't think they get you hardly anything in return because of their cap hits, because of the amount of money you'd have to get up. You almost maybe even have to give them a draft pick just so they could take on the cap, so you could afford a Gabe Davis, or maybe a safety, or a Micah Parsons, which probably won't happen, but we like to dream. So, but yeah, it's funny when people talk about in general Bills Mafia. I'm the same way. Who would you trade? I would trade Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore. Well, what about Keon Coleman? Well, he could be good, but that's the thing. You don't want to trade him, and that's the player that teams would want to trade for. It's like fantasy football, right? Fantasy football, the trade that you'll always get, no matter what, without even asking for it, is someone asking for your RB1 or RB2 with like their wide receiver 5. It goes without fail. That will happen every single time. Or like, okay, you don't want to give me Bijan Robinson. I get it. How about I give you my wide receiver 4 and a running back 3 together? How about those two players I never even start? Do those equal your best player? How about that? So I mean, you gotta look at it from that point of view. I don't think anyone's trading for Curtis Samuel. I think Elijah Moore maybe, but I mean the Bills need help at wide receiver. So why are you trading these guys, right? So at this point, I think Tyrell Shavers. I mean, almost. I'm excited about him. I think he could make the roster, but I don't think you're getting a ton from him his first season. So anyway, moving on to that, the Bills hosted Gabe Davis. Preseason game was a disappointment. It was one of those things where it's like I don't even know what movie it's from, or if it's just a general quote when people say, I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. And that's basically how I felt for the Bills preseason game. And a lot of questions are going to go unanswered until the regular season. So, yeah, it doesn't matter that they played bad. No. But would it have made you feel a little bit better to see them dominate, or at least play pretty well? Yeah. Yeah. So going into Hard Knocks was a good episode. Last thing I'm going to touch on before I go back to work. Hard Knocks was a good episode. Let's see. I had some notes here for that, but I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more emotion from Sean McDermott when everything didn't go well. But there was a lot of cool scenes in that episode. Got to meet the linebacker out of Army. I forget his name already, but that was kind of cool to see. I didn't know. I didn't even know he was on the roster, to be honest. I mean, I stopped looking after like 78, 79, 80 because I know none of those guys are going to make it. But cool story. Definitely typical Hard Knocks like storytelling about an underdog guy that just came on the roster. I was glad that they focused on Jamarcus Ingram, the UB product, the cornerback. I know probably nothing about him besides the fact that he went to UB. He's trying to make the roster. So that was cool that they involved him in it, got to know him a little bit more. Speaking of Hard Knocks, Joe Andreessen struggled a lot during the preseason game, in coverage mostly, but also in run support. I think he just needs more time. He's got to have more time. I don't know if he's the long-term answer, middle linebacker, but he'll make the team. He'll make the team, and he'll be the backup middle linebacker at this point. But he doesn't give you a ton of confidence if Terrell Bernard goes down. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the Tre White injury, the Gabriel Davis potential signing? What about the thoughts on Hard Knocks? And I've stated this before. I love Hard Knocks. I thought I wouldn't like it because maybe they show the team in a negative light, or maybe it's not the same as Beyond the Red and Blue, or it's just as good if not better. I mean, they just have access to so much more. And the Bills media group is A+. Their entertainment side of things, but that was really good. I love Hard Knocks. So I hope you guys are all enjoying it. If you guys are catching this live, thank you guys all for listening live. If you're catching this on the recording after, thank you guys all for listening. The next episode, we are going to talk about the cuts. A lot of cuts happening on Sunday. And we're going to cover that. Guys that we think are going to get cut, guys that we think could make it. And with all the injuries, who knows? Who knows? But hopefully we hear some good news in the next day or so on Tre'Davious White. And we'll go there. So thank you guys all for listening. And for me, Nate, go Bills. And we'll talk to you guys all again soon. See ya.
Buffalo, hey, let's go Buffalo, hey, let's go Buffalo. Find us out in the parking lot. We got the tailgate down in our favorite spot. We're all fired up and our friends are here. We got some damn good food and a ton of beer. It's finally Sunday. We can't wait for the Bills to play. So kick it off, 12 man. Let's hear you scream. Let's hear you scream. Let's hear you scream. It's finally Sunday. We can't wait for the Bills to play. So kick it off, 12 man. Let's hear you scream.
Thank you for listening to the Circling the Wagons podcast. Download and subscribe to us in your favorite podcast service. Email us at ctwpod@gmail.com. That's Charlie Tango Whiskey Pod@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at CTWPod. And most importantly, go Bills!
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, Nate.
Well, listen, the whole show is called Circling the Wagons. Say no more. I love it.